Well, welcome to the Business Spotlight series. My name is Heather Frierson, and I'm your host of the Business Spotlight podcast. And today I have Candy Bellau, owner of Kramerica Business Solutions. And she's going to be talking all about her journey to business ownership, challenges, best practices, and really just share a sneak peek of what it's like to own and operate a business. And I have a feeling we're going to have a lot of fun along the way, too. So make sure you stick around to the end. So, Candy, welcome to the show. I'm so glad you're here.
Heather, thank you so much for having me. I think this is going to be fun.
Yeah.
Uh, but I am Candy Bellau. I'm a certified fraud examiner, and I do own Kramerica Business Solution, which, fun fact, is named after Kramer from Seinfeld because my nickname in New York was Kramer. But I have a boutique accounting firm, and we offer strategic oversight for companies that either require audits or they're getting prepared to sell or bring in investors, and they need those books airtight to be able to put in either for pitch decks or again for an audit or
Mm,
something. So we do that in the form of controller services. So we're like a middle layer. Well, they keep their whole in-house team, and we just kind of provide the oversight to get them over the hurdle.
mm,
The other thing we do is fraud work. So
mm,
I do a lot of speaking in the accounting industry on fraud prevention and detection. So, but we do fraud investigations, and I
mm.
do enjoy putting bad people in jail. But I do like to also really show the human side of fraud because I don't believe everybody that commits fraud is necessarily a bad person, but there are circumstances. There are definitely bad people that commit fraud.
Mm.
But, with some prevention and some tools, you can prevent those things from happening and putting somebody in a situation where there's an opportunity, and they're in a
Mhm.
situation, you just don't want to allow those opportunities to fester because if somebody is in need, they're probably not
Yeah.
going to get.
Yeah. That's true. I'm trying to reconcile my mind what you just said about Kramer, the name of your company, and how funny that is and how serious of a work you do.
Well, so I did a lot of, I'm from New York originally, and I did consulting work in New York.
Hmm.
And as a consultant, I kind of made my own hours. So my friends didn't think I worked, but I seemed to have money like Kramer. And so, they'd call and say, "Hey, can you meet me for lunch?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure, I'll go meet you." Or, "Can you meet me in Germany?" "Yeah, I'll buy a ticket right now. I'll meet you there." And they're like, "How do you do it? You're Kramer. It's like you have this mystery job." So I was doing the consulting and I started working on my own. And I said, "I really need a name for the company."
Mm.
And my friends just said, "Well, Kramer started Kramerica." And I said, "That's what I'm going to do." And they said, "No, no, no, you can't use that name. You need something serious." And I said, "You know what? I don't want to work with somebody that doesn't want to work with Kramer or
Mm.
Kramerica. That's not my people." So
Mm.
I did it, and I've had the company for a pretty damn long time now, and it's Kramerica. The bad thing is a lot of people don't know Seinfeld anymore. So
The
it's just
new
not
generation.
relevant. I say
It's
that
still on
sometimes.
reruns.
Yeah, but I get blank stares when I'm like, "Oh, it's named after Kramer from Seinfeld." And like, "Who's
They're
that?"
like, who? Oh no, they're
Never
not your people
mind.
then. They're
No.
not your people. I knew exactly who you are. I just didn't, my husband is a diehard. He'll know every one-liner. I'll get some one-liners, but I didn't
Oh,
get that one.
well, here's another one. I told you with the fraud work, I am going for my PI license. And
Hmm.
so that'll be incorporated with it. But at that point, it'll be under our second company, which is Vandelay. So,
I do get that one.
so that will be the fraud. Well, right now, fraud is still under Kramerica, but once we start integrating the other pieces, we're going to move it all over to the other company.
I love it. Just a side note, because we're on the Seinfeld track, my first date with my husband was to see Jerry Seinfeld live.
Oh,
Yes.
wow.
So when I say die hard, and I've learned through living with him all of the and watching all the reruns and no,
Yeah.
yeah, I get
I'm known to do the Elaine dance in public, which my husband does not appreciate, but
it. I'm sure the audience does though, because that's super fun. Okay. So from NYC consultant, um, got your name going. You've been in this now with Kramerica. It's been 18 years. Did I read that right?
yeah, it started in New York and it was under my name. I think I started it under the name Kramerica in 2007. But I
Hmm.
was, working under Candy prior
Hmm.
to that. So yeah, it's been a hot minute.
So what got you into all of this? I know you said consulting, but really from the beginning, what got you where you're like, I want to do this type of business and this is what I'm good at?
So in New York, I was working for private companies. It's a whole lot of drama in between. After 9/11, I had a little
Mm,
breakdown. I joined the Peace Corps. That didn't work out, came back, and I really couldn't find a job.
mm,
And I started working for the consulting firm. And one of the things I realized is I liked working for more than one company because I felt
mm.
like I was making a greater impact in the world. Instead
Yeah.
of just growing one person, I got to touch multiple people.
Hmm.
And then when I started the company, I started to realize, well, if I hire people, we could impact more people. And then I actually started consulting and coaching the accounting industry.
Mm,
And I did that for a few years. I just stopped recently. But that to me felt like so giving back of now I'm really making an impact on the world because it's not just me and my team. I'm working with accounting firm owners across the United States that have, between all of them, thousands of employees and thousands of clients. And I felt like I could make a bigger impact in the world that way. And
mhm,
that was powerful to me.
mm,
So that was, I want to see businesses thrive.
mm. I love that that's your vision for all of this. It's not just to have a business, be an owner, but it's to see other people thrive.
Yeah, 100%.
Why is that important to you?
I think because I was given so many opportunities and I had so many amazing mentors along the way who were there for me. And, I started working at 14. By the
Mm,
time I was 16, I was paying bills at home and I was, the bookkeeper at a company. This is in the 80s. I was setting up their
mhm.
computer systems, running
Wow.
things. I left there and I went to another company, got promoted. I was running the company. And I
Mm,
remember my 21st birthday, they brought me in and it was a husband and wife and the husband's like, what do you mean she's just 21 today, she's doing and but I they kept trusting me and
right.
kept, they would buy companies and they'd throw financials on my desk and say, which company
Mm,
should we buy? And I don't know. And I
wow.
went out and she'd say, no, you're not reading it right. And I said, well, what am I supposed to see? And she goes, you've got to learn to read financials. And she would sit and tear through them with me over and over until I could look at it and say, this is the company to buy. I worked back through all the
Mm,
numbers, and this is the profit you can make if you bring it in. I didn't have education at that point. This was
mm,
all, I did end up going back to school, but it was people that trusted in me.
mhm.
So it feels like my way of saying thank you to them is doing the same for others.
Yeah. I love that so much. You're obviously a numbers person.
Yeah.
So so yeah, because if someone put that spreadsheet in front of me, that's not my gift and talent. So to know that that was something that early that was in you that really led to your journey today.
Yeah. But I didn't know that.
Mm,
In all
sure.
honesty, when I first started doing bookkeeping, it was somebody was saying, "Can you help me?" And I thought it was so easy that it was dumb. And
I
I didn't
love
know
it.
it was easy for me and hard for others. And when I started
Mhm.
putting that together, I said, wait a minute, I could do this. It
Mhm.
wasn't my
Mhm.
dream in life to be an accountant by any means. This wasn't my, not the first thing on the list.
Yeah, but that's not what you're doing now. You're helping other accountants and discovering fraud. So
Yeah.
it's like it's taking something that you are good at and like you said, making an impact in a different way. What type of businesses do you normally go into?
So for the core business of our company,
Mhm.
of the controller services, is we're being brought in by brokers or
Mm.
uh, CPA companies or advisory firms that have a client that they're trying to get them over a certain hurdle
Mhm.
and they just need good books to get there. And so
Mhm.
we've got a network of people through the years that will call us and say, We like really impossible projects. We like the ones nobody else wants." And they're like, "All right, I got one for you." They just start laughing. And, it's like sometimes we're doing cash to accrual conversions and we have to have a 3-year, multi-year that ties out to the tax returns and they need it like in 2 months or they're going to lose this sale of
Mm.
business. And so it is like going in, doing it. So that's a big part of the business.
Mhm.
The other side, the fraud stuff, was just something that I used to find fraud all the
Mm.
time. And I found it in my first job. I found out the controller was embezzling.
Oh my
And
gosh.
throughout my career, I kept going in and working places and finding fraud and doing these investigations. And then somebody said, "Well, why aren't you a fraud examiner?" And I didn't even know what it was.
Mm.
And they just said, "Well, I do it. Here, go take the test." And I did. And
Wow.
then I started doing education and now we're going back into actually doing the fraud work,
Mm.
fraud investigations.
It's so amazing how you've been on such a journey, which I hear all the time on the show. It's like one thing leads to the next, and you just kind of keep going. And, there's so many ups and downs within that journey. I mean, it's been 18 years and more than that, really, since you started your 21st birthday, only maybe 20 years um, since you really knew, like, this is my passion. What have been some of the challenges
Mm.
that you faced even recently that you had to overcome?
Well, there was a point in my business where I was so underpriced
Mm.
that I couldn't afford to pay the bills. I was working around the clock, 7 days a week. I started doing things I would never let a client do. I
Mm.
was withdrawing from my savings, my retirement. I took predatory loans. I paid
Mm.
bills with credit cards. I lost 2 houses.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Me, the person who makes people money,
Yeah.
knows better. It
Yeah.
humbled me to no end,
Mm.
and, I had to admit to my husband because I was keeping it quiet, which I think
Mm.
most people do. You think, "I'll just get this one thing and it's gonna make it better." When I
Mhm.
thought, I had houses on the East Coast after I moved to New Orleans, and I said, "I'll just sell them," and it was during the housing crash.
Oh, yeah. Which
So,
one?
yeah, it was, when did I move here? I moved here in 2018. No,
Okay.
2008. So 2000
2008. Mhm.
started putting the house up for sale, they wouldn't sell. I ended up, like I said, losing them, but I didn't tell him.
Mm.
And when I finally admitted everything, it was really bad,
Yeah.
and I essentially had to dig out of everything. But I do remember the day I said to him, "Oh, the car's paid off." And he was like, "Oh, your car or mine?" I said, "Both." And he was like, "Really?" And I said, "Yeah." I was like, "Credit cards are paid off." And he said, "Which one?" I said, "All of them." And he goes, "Well, how much do we owe the IRS?" I'm, "Nope, IRS is paid off." He said, "Who do we owe money to?" I said, "Just our mortgage." And he said, "You
Mm.
paid everything off?" And I said, "I told you I would fix it. I knew I messed it up. And
Mm.
I knew I had to treat my business like I would tell a client to do it. but I wanted to be the nice person. I wanted to have the low
Mm,
prices. I felt bad for everybody. And then I started to realize if I go under, I can't help anybody.
mm,
And my employees need to eat too, and they have to count on their paycheck. And I'm
mm.
failing as a business owner.
Wow.
And so I fixed it. Took a bit, but we're in really good shape right now. And employee issues. There's so many things, but
Mm,
now we're in such a good place. It's
that's
like,
awesome.
oh, knock wood. Is this going to continue?
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. How many, can I ask how many years did it take to get to fix it?
To fix it, it was probably about 3 years to
That's
get it.
not a long time in retrospect.
I felt like I had really let my family down
Sure.
and I was going to do everything. I fired all of my clients in one sit.
Mm,
And he was like, wait a minute. So you have no money. We can't pay the bills. And you just fired all your clients. I said, now I have room for the ones that can afford me. He goes, where are they coming from? I said, they will come. I think I actually
wow.
had a mental breakdown. Probably needed to get locked up. But I got a call the next day, and the new client I signed on I was probably at that point charging 350 a month for everything.
Oh my gosh.
And I brought somebody in for 3,500 to do the same work I did and they were like, "Oh yeah, that sounds reasonable. Where do I sign?" Took
Yeah.
2 clients to replace all the
Mm,
clients I fired.
wow. What a good lesson that is in knowing your worth and value. Had it not been for that, and maybe just someone listening, that's probably lots that are undervaluing themselves. What would you say? Because you don't want to tell people you have to lose your house and hit rock bottom or something like that.
And that's why I talk about it because I
Yeah.
want people to know, like, yeah, they're like, "Oh, you have everything so easy now." And I'm like, "Well, let me tell you what it took to get here."
Mm-hmm.
It
Mm-hmm.
wasn't. And I was very pompous coming from New York because I was making so much money.
Mm-hmm.
And then I came and started a new business and I just forgot who
Wow.
I was.
I love that. I don't love it for you. What I love is that you learned from it and are on the other side. You didn't get stuck.
I did for a while, yeah. But now that's why I started coaching because
Mm,
I wanted to help other firm owners and so that they know they're not alone. And I felt like I was the only failure. Because everybody I
mm.
would ask, I would say, how's your company doing? Oh, mine's great. And I'm like, everybody was lying, but I didn't know. You know, they were all lying.
Yeah.
But I
They were
just
looking
walked
good for Instagram.
feeling like I must be the only failure in this industry because everybody I
Mm,
ask is doing great.
yeah.
So I made it a point of being very open and
Hmm.
to make a safe space for people to talk about things because there are things you can do.
Yeah. So what kind of clients do you coach? Or is it accounting firms, like you said, or is it business owners? What does that look like?
So I was doing it. I did stop
Okay.
at the end of last year.
That's right. You did say
Um,
that.
but I was coaching accounting firm owners,
Yeah.
CPA firm owners,
Yeah.
consulting firm owners, just anybody that had a firm. I
Hmm.
was working with them.
Yeah. So when you look back, you've had these big challenges, you're in a good place now. Now you have a team. Let's dig into team a little bit and what that looks like now on the other side.
So teams, that's an interesting one. At my height, we were a team of 12
Hmm.
and we were doing terribly.
Hmm.
We were drowning. We had managers. We had all these procedures and protocols. And
Hmm.
I just finally lost it again, another breakdown. And basically, it's me and 2 other people right now.
Hmm.
And the business doubled.
Wow.
And now, not everybody was full time of the 12.
Hmm.
But what I decided was I needed really high caliber people that knew what they were doing
Yes.
and that weren't afraid to challenge me And, because we were dealing with high stakes clients, and if I was making a mistake, somebody's going to push back.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of mutual respect. We do a lot of continuing education, but I also wanted people that didn't need managers.
Mm.
I wanted people that work well together, but take responsibility for their work and get it done, and
Hmm.
let me know if they can't. But if they're not letting me know they can't, my assumption is it's done.
Yeah.
And it is.
Mm-hmm.
And they make their own schedule. They don't have to ask for anything. They all have a credit card. Um, me and I thank the team for giving me this freedom in my life, and this I'm very grateful. We all went, all three with the families. We went and took a week in Roatan last year.
Oh, nice.
A thank you, because when they give up time to get work done for clients, they're taking time away from their families. So I
Mm.
wanted to thank the families also.
Mm.
And then we also did our own private retreat just with us, and we had a facilitator come with us to keep us on track so we wouldn't just fool
Yeah.
the whole time. Our husband's like, just say you wanted to get away from us for a weekend. I'm like, no, no, we're really going to get stuff done. That's why we have a facilitator.
Right.
We're
Promise.
not,
I'll show you the pictures and the notes.
right. We're not going to just drink wine and lay on the beach. We did, and the facilitator was amazing and helpful for us. Um, but so for teams, I did like the thought of building people and developing them, but I realized I didn't have that capacity once
Mhm.
I had my daughter.
Mhm.
And I just was the push and pull of where, and for my mom also got sick. I'm in that sandwich generation of,
Yeah.
the parent, the child. My mom got sick. I pretty much had to move to New York for almost 3 years
Oh,
to
wow.
take care of her. And I left my husband and daughter.
Oh my goodness.
And the
That's so
team
hard.
took over because I kept having to cancel. My
Mm.
mom would go in the hospital, or I'm like, oh my God, I have to take her to the doctor. I wasn't planning it today, and I have meetings. And just a little bit over time, they took over everything. And in return, I've talked to them. If I die, there's a life insurance policy that'll go to my
Mm.
estate, and essentially they're buying the company. So it's
Mm.
theirs.
Wow.
And they treat it as it's their own company. And when I'm ready to retire, it'll be their company if they choose. They don't have to have it, but
Yeah.
they.
Explain that a little bit because I love to ask the question about exit ramps.
Mhm.
And you've already got something very unique set up that I haven't heard before. So explain that a little bit.
So, like, just in terms of the death, there's an insurance policy that
I mean, I get that
that would.
part for sure.
The
Let's
other
let's say
part
that you
is,
decide to go on vacation with your family and retire.
so in that case, they're building equity in the company.
Hmm.
If they did not want to buy the company and I sold it, they would get their portion of the equity, but they do want to continue the company. So we talk about things, I don't
Mm.
make any big decisions without them. Um, but once I'm ready to retire, they'll pay out whatever we agree on over time. So it'll give me an annual amount coming
Mm.
in until it's paid off, and then it'll be theirs. Um, it gives reassurance to the clients. The clients are aware of this,
Mm.
that if something happens, they're going to be taking over so you don't have to worry. It gives them some reassurance that, you know, this is something they're building,
Hmm.
and then
Wow.
sometimes they suggest things, and I'm like, wow, it sounds really interesting. And when it's your company, I suggest you do it then. But until then, the answer is no. And they just laugh, but right now when I'm working with them on mostly because their accounting skills are unbelievable and I
Mm.
send them for continuing education, we're working more on the skills of running and owning a business
Hmm.
and those types of things and, client relations and, you know, the networking. And that's primarily what I do right now is I run the
Hmm.
company and I do the networking. I'm not really doing the client work unless it's a fraud investigation.
Mm, mhm, mhm. I love that so much. I haven't heard that uh, with a setup like that, where the employees are already have ownership, and really, it's probably what makes the company better. So,
100%.
so when you look at the future, that could be 30 years down the road, where you say, "I think I'm done, guys."
It's more like 10.
Okay, we'll say 10. Or maybe you're ready to go do something else, What are some of the challenges you see maybe right now that are standing in the way of some of those goals?
I think it's just more their experience dealing with difficult issues
Mm,
because I take all of those on.
yeah.
The hard conversations I have, uh,
Mhm.
the if there's an issue with a client or a vendor or something, that's my job to take care of. I want them to have it easy, but at the same time, I've kind of laid out a plan. I'm like, in a couple of years, you guys are going to be dealing with this stuff, and I'm just going to be watching to make sure you're doing okay. But you have to be able to do these things. You have to
Mhm.
be able to have the hard conversations. And I think sometimes their emotions, it's hard, but when you have to do something, you do it.
Yeah,
And
and
I
it's
know
saving
they're
them
going to be
too.
fine. They will be fine. They're
Yeah,
wonderful. But it's so much easier for them to say, "Oh, this happened," and I'm the buffer so that they could just go in and do the job,
yeah,
and the client loves them, and if they have a problem, they have a problem with me. But
yeah.
my clients are like friends.
Mm,
So I can have these hard conversations, and they're real, they're honest. I explain, here's my situation, here's where you're at,
yeah,
how do we come meet in the middle? You know,
yeah. I love that, and I love that it sounds like you're already making a plan for that.
totally.
Yeah, and teaching them.
Yeah.
Yeah. What would you say, as you look at the business and as a whole and all of your years, is we've talked about challenges. Do you feel is your biggest success?
The fact that I'll get emotional, that I got to spend that time with my mom
Hmm.
and they took over, and I'll never be able to repay them. Could you imagine if I had to be working around the clock?
Hmm.
And, it would just be a moment of I'm working and I'd get a phone call and I would book a flight, go tell my husband, I'm slacking them. I have to go to New York, running out and saying, I just booked a flight. And the support from him,
Hmm.
he was just like, all right, what do I have to do? When do I have to get you to the airport? And he would just constantly say to me, you're under so much pressure. I don't want to add any stress to your life. How do I make your
Oh.
life easier? And I was gone. I mean, I'd leave him.
Mm.
And my team, I would just not deal with phone calls. And they're like, Kenny, just want you to know this happened. We took care of it. I remember they got a call from somebody asking to do work, and I was in the hospital. And they
Mm.
said, look, somebody called. We quoted them $20,000 for a rush job. And I was like, what? And they said, if you give us one dime of that, we're going to be angry. We know you've been spending a fortune flying back and forth taking care of your mom. Please use that to help cover some of those costs.
Oh my
They
gosh.
worked weekends to get this project done. And then,
Wow.
so that's what I'm saying is like, I'm just grateful right now
Mm.
for the people in my life. And it was a long road to get here, but
Mhm.
it's a nice place to be right now.
I think it speaks volumes of your leadership and character to have so many people around you that are willing to support you in that way.
I would do anything for them.
Yeah. And sounds like they do too. It's a great lesson in leadership and yeah, leadership and character building and integrity.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean we all have husbands like yours.
He's a good one. I'm gonna keep him.
Yeah. What do you need? I don't want to put any more pressure. Like, what?
Take the garbage out. That would help.
That would help.
It's only those little things, but big
Yeah.
things, he's just right there.
He's right there. Hey, we'll take it. We'll take it. That's really nice. And for those of you watching on YouTube, built her a computer that's right behind her, the light box. If you're not watching on YouTube, you need to come back and check it out because he built that specially for Candy. It's great.
Yeah, he's a
Well,
keeper.
that's a great segue into some rapid fire fun
Okay,
questions. What do you say?
let's go.
Let's do it. All right. What would you say is the key to success for you?
I think it is the community. It
Mm,
is the people I surround myself with.
yeah. And you've got a good one for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. What would be your one piece of advice to other business owners?
Price as if you have a team
Mm,
and consider overhead, consider continuing education, conferences. When you're pricing, you need to think of all these things because to offer the value for the client, you need to constantly be learning. You have to have insurance. You have to have
mm,
the tools you need. If you can't afford those things, you can't effectively help your client. If you can't help them, what good are you? They
yeah.
want you. So you need to be able to price to be sustainable. If you're not sustainable, you're no good to anybody.
Yeah. That's really good. I like that a lot. All right. Book or podcast? What are you reading or listening to right now?
So I love my books. I'm really The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari Changed My Life by Robin Sharma.
I haven't heard that one.
Oh my gosh, it is Robin Sharma changed my life. So I love that. But I
Running that
just
down.
recently got into Charlie Donlea books on audiobook, and they're like kind of these mysteries, but they include a lot of forensic stuff.
Oh, nice.
So I don't know. I've been trying to not just read self-help and business books because that's what I love. Like I've
Hmm.
got to broaden
I
and
get that.
do
I
something
feel you on
else.
that.
And they've been so much fun. I've listened to 7 of his since January
Wow.
when somebody told me
So
about.
fun.
Yeah.
I've been doing a little bit of that too because I love leadership books and there came a point like I need something lighthearted and
Right.
started doing some audiobooks in the car
Yes.
that are good but don't make me think about it for 3 hours after.
Right, right. Like, what do I have to do now? Like,
Yeah.
'cause I love to learn and I love to get
Hmm.
new credentials and stuff, but like
Absolutely.
I've got to lighten my life a little bit. It
Exactly.
needs to be fun.
Exactly. I like to say I don't do anything unless it's fun. I don't mind hard,
Yeah.
but let's make
Yeah.
it fun too.
Yeah.
All right, this is a fun question in our final rapid
Okay.
fire. If you had a little bit of magic dust, it could sprinkle it anywhere in your business. Where would you sprinkle it?
Probably freshening up our marketing because I put zero energy into it and it shows.
Mm-hmm.
Because most of my work comes from people I know,
Mm-hmm.
but if they recommend somebody and they go look at our stuff, it's very outdated, you know. So I need to put a little time there.
Yeah, you're not alone in that. I hear that often, so don't feel bad. A lot, I get that answer a lot. So, all right, before we get to the final question of the day, tell everybody where they can find you, hire you, follow you, all the things.
Oh, okay. So I'm on LinkedIn primarily. That's my go-to place. It's Candy Johnson Bellow. And or I'm Kramerica, Candy at KramericaSolutions.com. But it's easier to find me on LinkedIn because nobody ever spells it right or pronounces it correctly. But yeah, that's where you can find me.
And just so you know, if you do reach out and connect with Candy, make sure you tell her that you heard her on our podcast today, because that's actually where you and I connected was LinkedIn.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
It's the best place.
Yeah. I love
It's where the
LinkedIn.
real people are.
The fun people.
It's the fun people and the real people. Yeah, for sure. All right. All right. Final question of the day, which I love so much.
Okay.
What is most inspiring you today, Candy?
Community.
Mm,
Community. I am involved with a speakers group. I just got board certified from Theater of Public Speaking. So I finished their
Oh,
class and I passed my final. And that community is amazing. The accounting community, I just love how everybody lifts each other up and cheers each other on. And those are my people.
yeah. I love that. I love that that was your answer for what's most inspiring and your key to success. That makes a lot of
Ah,
sense. Yeah.
okay,
You
right.
said community for both.
Yeah, yeah,
It's really important, I can tell. The people that you
yeah,
work with and the people that you surround yourself with. It's what made brought you here, got you where you
yeah,
are today.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I could talk to you really, I think, all the time. It'd be so fun. So you might just have to come back and tell us where you are in a couple of years and the big goals that you have for Kramerica and also Vandalay. So
Yes.
we might need to come back and talk more about
Uh-huh.
Vandalay and what
Okay.
other Seinfeld little things you might be doing in your business. It'd be fun. So I just want to encourage everyone, of course, to like and subscribe, and so that you don't miss a notification every time a new show drops, just like this one. And be sure to save this show specifically because Candy really did speak a lot into of what makes a company like hers for 18 years so successful. So, thanks for everyone to joining us today. But a special thank you to you, Candy. It was great to have you on the show and nice meeting you.
Oh, Heather, I have enjoyed every second of this. Thank you so much. You were wonderful.
Oh, thank you. It was the same, very much same. I'll see you on the next show. And to
Uh,
everyone else, we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.